My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC 274 fight card. I'm going to give you my picks and my DraftKings plays. We're going to talk about people's pricing, who's worth it, who isn't worth it, and who you should have in your lineup. Before I jump in, go to WeWantPicks.com/DraftKings. We have our own DraftKings league, free to join, free to compete in. You get to compete against us and everybody else in the community. Check it out, test some lineups. WeWantPicks.com/DraftKings. And we've got a pretty good fight card here, so let's just start at the bottom and work our way to the top. And opening up the card, we have Fernie Garcia, who has no data in DraftKings, making his official UFC debut here. And he's taking on Journey NEWSON. Journey NEWSON, he's a come-forward striker. He's got really good power, but what's interesting is he's actually a grappler. He just doesn't really use it in fights. He discovered his power halfway through his career, and that's all he wants to do now is swing and try to take people's heads off their bodies. And he's fighting Fernie Garcia. Fernie's a well-rounded guy. He's got pretty good wrestling background himself. But when he fights, he's primarily a striker. His striking style is also forward pressure and a counter striker. He's always taking steps forward, but he does a good job moving out of the way of strikes coming his way. And right now, Fernie Garcia is about a 2-1 favorite, and DraftKings obviously has him as a good-sized favorite. And that's probably because of his KO on the Contender Series and his wrestling abilities when he uses them. So I agree with that. I think Fernie's the better fighter. I think he's the more technical striker. I think he uses his wrestling better than NEWSON does. But NEWSON does have the UFC experience, and he's dangerous both on the feet and on the ground. Slight lean towards Fernie here. I think Fernie wins this fight, but he's pretty expensive. He's pretty expensive for a UFC debut, so I'm probably not going to spend the $8,600. Then we have one of the most interesting fights on the card. We have Lupita Godinez, or Loopy, as they have her listed here, taking on Ariane Carnelossi. Lupita Godinez is a bully. She likes to push you forward, drag you to the ground, beat you up from there. I mean, look at these takedowns, 5-2, 5-3. And she's got 2 losses in the UFC, but this Atlanta Carolina one, this was at 125 pounds. She went up in weight, and it was short notice. So she wasn't able to completely dominate, completely bully as people expected her to, but she did have 2 takedowns in that fight, and she scored 37 points, which is not fantastic. But look at this, 8.5 minutes of control time in a fight that she lost. And her other one was against Jessica Penne. This was actual just straight up nonsense. She beat Jessica Penne. That was just a really bad decision. And she's fighting Ariane Carnelossi. And what's tricky here, I love Lupita Godinez. Ariane Carnelossi, she's aggressive. She's strong. She's willing to be in a firefight. She's got pretty good takedown defense and really nice ground and pound if she ends up on top. What makes this tricky is Lupita Godinez needs to bully. Just think of like a Jessica Andrade. If Jessica Andrade can't bully her opponent, she can struggle a little bit. Lupita Godinez is in the same boat. Ariane Carnelossi is jacked. She's strong, and she may be hard to push around. So, you know, I still think Lupita Godinez is the pick here because I think she will have success with the takedowns. But Ariane Carnelossi is super strong. I mean, look at this. She took down Nunes. This is the little striker. She took down Nunes 5 times. Na Liang, no takedowns, but she dominated that fight and TKO in the second round. And then Angela Hill actually stopped her. This is a tough pick. I think Lupita wins this fight, but frankly, this could be a big upset. Ariane Carnelossi could get this done because if she can keep it on her feet, we've seen Lupita Godinez sort of struggles a bit if she can't dictate that wrestling pace. Then we've got Clayton Rodriguez. He's taking on CJ Vergara. Clayton Rodriguez, he's a prospect. He's got a ton of potential, very versatile striking style. He mixes in kicks really well. He's got power in his hands. He throws a lot of those punches from his hips, though, so they are pretty obvious. But he has solid takedowns, Greco-Roman style-ish takedowns, and he's taking on CJ Vergara. CJ Vergara is a powerful striker. He is coming off a loss in his official UFC debut to O'Day Osborne, but he's a powerful striker, solid forward pressure. He's very good with his clean boxing and his solid knees, but he likes to fight inside the pocket, and he likes to use his clinch work. I say but, right? Normally that's a very good thing, but because Clayton Rodriguez has such good takedowns from the clinch, it could be a problem for CJ Vergara. Clayton, that's exactly where he wants to be. It's a real tricky situation. CJ Vergara wants to be in the clinch to throw those knees and to work from there. Clayton Rodriguez wants to be in the clinch so he can work those trip-style Greco-Roman takedowns. It's a real clash of the styles. They both honestly kind of want the same position, but they want to do two completely different things with it. I like CJ to win this fight. It's not my most confident pick on the card. DraftKings wise, I may spend the $6,800. We are going to need some affordable fighters in our lineup. And the reason I think he wins this fight is because, yes, Clayton has big power, but they're looping. They come from his hip. They're very, very obvious punches. And I think CJ can get inside of that, have the straighter punches, and literally beat him to the punch. The clinch is what worries me. But if you look at this fight, CJ Vergara landed 122 strikes against Ode Osborne. Ode only landed 89 in that fight. I think CJ can mirror the same success. Clayton's big, wild looping shots. CJ is going to have that speed, have that technique right up the middle. So I like CJ Vergara in this underdog spot. It's obviously nerve-wracking. Clayton's very good, but, you know, official UFC debut on a pay-per-view, who knows, right? That could get to him as well. Then we have another interesting fight. We have TRACY CORTEZ. She's making her comeback after about a year, and she's a wrestler, straight up wrestler. She doesn't have the best striking. She doesn't have the best jiu-jitsu offense, but very good jiu-jitsu defense, and she is a straight-up wrestler. She's almost like, what's her name in the co-main event that we'll break down in a minute, CARLA ESPARZA, where you know exactly what she wants to do. And TRACY CORTEZ wants to wrestle. And it's an interesting matchup because A, long layoff, and B, she's fighting Melissa Gatto. Melissa Gatto is strong, powerful, has good striking, and not much wrestling, right? She doesn't have much wrestling, but she has phenomenal jiu-jitsu and specifically off her back. And this is such a tough pick. Like, I want to go with Melissa Gatto here because she's more dangerous. She showed in this fight against Sijara Eubanks that her hands are dangerous too. She did this TKO with a kick. But I do think TRACY CORTEZ can just get takedown after takedown and avoid the submission. She's got very good submission defense. You know, she's going out with Brian Ortega. I imagine she's absorbed some of that incredible jiu-jitsu knowledge through osmosis. But I do think TRACY CORTEZ can get the takedowns, elbows in, ride her out, elbow her in the face, and get this done. Melissa Gatto is definitely one of the more live underdogs on the card, but she can get taken down and she can get held down. So, you know, really tough pick there. I'm not going to argue with anybody that's on the Melissa Gatto side because, frankly, you know, she's definitely one of the more live underdogs. And depending what your budget looks like, she may be worth it. But if we go back to TRACY CORTEZ, she puts up decent numbers, 3 takedowns, 2 takedowns. She is a decision machine because she doesn't have that offensive submission game just yet, but she puts up solid numbers. I mean, look at the control time here against Stephanie Egger. 11 minutes in a 15-minute fight. I mean, those are solid numbers. So she could score well for you. Then we got Francisco Trinaldo. He's ageless. The guy's 43 years old, and he's not slowing down. He's a very solid, well-rounded fighter. He's got power in his hands, a good, like, come-forward wrestling type style, grinding type style, and he's just absolutely strong as hell. He's good everywhere. He's coming off this win over Grant, which was an interesting win. There was a pointed, all sorts of stuff happened in that fight. And, yeah, pretty dominant win for him. He lost the Salikov fight, but that's because he wasn't able to do what he does. He couldn't push forward, couldn't bully against the cage, couldn't get these takedowns, just couldn't do that. And look how many fights this guy's had in the UFC, and look how incredibly durable he is. His losses, I mean, look at this win streak here. And his losses are decisions or submissions. And he's fighting Danny Roberts. And Danny Roberts, he made a successful comeback in his last fight against Ramazan Emeev after this was a 2-year layoff between these two. And he looked okay in that fight. He's got solid boxing, solid footwork. He throws very hard, and he has power to KO anybody. But we've seen Francisco Trinaldo, even at 43 years old, is not getting knocked out. He can take those strikes, continue to come forward. And Danny Roberts, the big issue is his takedown defense is not great, and his offense is only at 11%. And the fights that Francisco Trinaldo loses are fights where he gets taken down and he gets controlled from there. I don't think Danny Roberts is going to get this done. I like Francisco Trinaldo again. I've ridden him in the past. The guy seems absolutely ageless, and Danny's not going to be a threat to initiate his own takedowns. And Danny has been taken down 17 times in 11 fights. I think Francisco Trinaldo comes forward, throws those big heavy bombs, gets some cage control, works in some takedown, and gets it done. So for now, age is but a number for Francisco Trinaldo. So he will likely be in my DraftKings lineup, and that's at pick 'em money, which is great. Then we have another interesting fight. This one's at heavyweight. We got Blagoy Ivanov taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Blagoy Ivanov, he's a heavyweight striker. He has an iron chin. There are literally YouTube highlight videos dedicated to his chin. A highlight of him getting blasted by the heaviest hitters, Derek Lewis, Augusto Sakai, Tai Tuivasa, Junior Dos Santos, hitting him with their best shots and nothing's happening. The guy has just an absolute granite chin. He also has good hands, good takedowns. Look at this. He took down Sakai, Lewis 3 times, Tuivasa twice. He has a combat sambo background, and he actually beat Fedor Emelianenko in combat sambo. He's a very talented guy. And go look up some backstory on him. He was stabbed, almost died. Wild life for this guy. But yes, he is only 2-3 in his last 5. He is riding a bit of a skid here, but he's a very talented guy that can get things done. And he's taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima, coming off this awesome win over Ben Rothwell. He smoked Green, but that's kind of whatever. Romanov beat him, fine. And then, he's basically beating everybody that he should, and then he's got, his losses are pretty good, except for this Antigulov. That wasn't a great loss. Nikita Krylov, fine. Anyway, Marcos Rogerio de Lima showed just how powerful his hands are when he put out Ben Rothwell early, and in that fight, he was fast. He's got a ton of volume. He put up 166 strikes in this win over Maurice Green. He has decent wrestling offense. He's got 66% average takedowns. And he gets about 1 takedown per fight on average. You'll see 3 here and then none in these few, and then he has another with a few more. He does not fight well off his back, though, and I think that's the differentiator here. I think Ivanov can take him down, control him, and beat him up on top. He's not going to knock out Ivanov, right? You can do that to Ben Rothwell. You're not going to – if Derek Lewis isn't even rocking that guy, Rogerio de Lima is not doing it either. So I do like Ivanov to win this fight, but Rogerio de Lima is a very, very dangerous guy, and I know a lot of you in the comment section love him as an underdog. And then we've got the always insanely exciting Brandon Royval, and he's taking on Matt Schnell. Brandon Royval, he's one of the most exciting guys in the UFC. He's always looking for a finish, but he does have pretty good cardio as well. He's not a first-rounder bust guy. He's coming off his first decision in the UFC, at least, over Bontorin. And he's dangerous on his feet. He's got diverse striking, great speed. He's also a good grappler. He's got tricky submissions, is willing to chase those submissions. So that sometimes that does get him in a little bit of trouble. But he's absolutely kill or be killed. All of these fights are finishes except the Bontorin fight. And then he's fighting Matt Schnell. And Matt Schnell, he's a really good counter striker with solid BJJ. I've broken him down a bunch, and I was picking him to beat Alex Perez, but that fight, I broke it down like 4 times. It still never happened. But the reason I liked him to beat Alex Perez is because he has great counter striking. So you come at him, he will just counter strike, throw a combination, land a leg kick, take a couple steps back, and then as you follow him, same exact thing. Counter strike, combo, leg kick, back out, rinse, repeat. He's actually a very, very talented guy. I do like Brandon Royval to win this fight, though, but I do think this pricing's a bit wide because, yes, Brandon Royval is absolutely a finisher, and we've seen Matt Schnell get finished before, right? There's a couple, three KOs right here. But the reality is he's tough, and he's a very good counter striker. But I like Royval to win. He probably will be in my lineup just because of how well he scores when he wins. I think Royval's forward pressure and his sneaky grappling is probably going to be the difference. I know Schnell's a very good counter striker. I just told you that, but I do think that Royval's pressure is just going to be too much, just way too much. Then we've got Norma Dumont, who I absolutely love, and she's taking on Macy Chiasson. Norma Dumont, she's a really good striker, and she has a very relaxed striking style. She's patient, and her striking super technical. She has a 100% takedown defense so far, and if you look at her strike differential, she lands about 4 strikes per minute, and she only takes a little tiny bit over 2 per minute. And on top of her technical striking, she's got good grappling. Her takedowns are not great, but she does have takedowns in every single one of her UFC fights, and she's got 2 here against Ashley Evans-Smith. She's coming off the destruction of Aspen Ladd, where she was just a step ahead of Aspen the entire time. And she's taking on Macy Chiasson, and Macy Chiasson's coming off this, I don't want to say embarrassing loss to Raquel Pennington, because Raquel's very, very good, but that was Raquel's first finish in 38 years or something absurd like that. But Macy Chiasson is long. She's tall. And she uses her length really well to just jab, stick and move jab, stick and move jab. And if you can't close the distance on her, you're going to have some trouble, right? You're going to have some real issues if you can't close the distance. But if you can close the distance, you can have some success. You can get her against the cage. You can take her down. You can work a clinch game. But she does use her reach really well. I do think Norma Dumont wins this fight. I'm very high on Norma Dumont. I think she's incredibly talented, and I think she can do big things in the division. But Macy Chiasson is very good and uses her reach really well, and that could be a problem for Norma. Again, really wide pricing here, $9,100 to $7,100. You know, I'm probably going to spend the money on Norma, but, you know, we'll have to see, because this next fight, Khaos Williams, Randy Brown, there's probably a stoppage in this fight. So you may have better off spending lesser money and hoping for a stoppage here than, you know, probably a decision out of Norma. But we've got Khaos Williams taking on Randy Brown. Khaos Williams, the guy is absolutely fun as hell to watch. He's never in a boring fight. He just walks people down, insane power, solid low kicks, and he uses those low kicks to sort of take out your legs, slow you down, and then he comes up the top for a KO. He's got power, he's durable, and he's always live for a knockout. He beat Baeza here. You'll see he scored 78 points. I actually thought he was on the wrong end of most of that fight. He was getting hit. He was getting taken down. He was in like constant submission threat. He showed how good his submission defense is, but constant submission threat there. But he showed he's never out of a fight. Third round, big power, boom, knocks Baeza out, and that's who Khaos Williams is. And he's fighting Randy Brown. Randy Brown's a really good striker. He uses his range really well. He's stupid tall for this division, and he takes advantage of that. He uses long jabs, kicks to keep you at bay, and then when he's ready, he'll use his speed to initiate those solid boxing exchanges. He's got trip-style takedowns that he uses, right? You can see here he took down Luque Alves. Obviously, didn't end well in the Luque fight. But the problem is he's chinny. A couple of these losses are by knockout. He does get finished. He is a bit chinny. I think Randy Brown is the better, more technical striker in this matchup, but Khaos Williams is by far the more dangerous fighter, and he showed in his last fight. It doesn't matter if you take him down. It doesn't matter if you win most of the exchanges. You will get caught. You can get caught. So I like Khaos Williams to win. I like him at that price point, right? Because $8,300, and he could probably score over 100 points here or close to it. So I don't mind that at all. I'll probably have Khaos Williams. Then we got Donald Cerrone. This is a weird fight. It's for the fans because it means nothing for the division. Donald Cerrone coming back after a year, which he needed that break, man. Look at this. Look at this skid. Knocked out by Morono. A draw. It says no decision, but that was a draw against Nico Price. Anthony Pettis beat him in a decision. McGregor knocks him out. Gaethje knocks him out. Ferguson knocks him out. He hasn't had a win since Al Iaquinta in 2019. It's rough. It's been a rough go. But you know who Donald Cerrone is. Very good kickboxer. Very good at jiu-jitsu. Doesn't really initiate takedowns, right? You don't see him shooting takedowns too often, but if you take him down, you got to worry about a triangle, worry about an armbar. And if you strike with him, you have to worry about his insane head kicks, his solid speed. I mean, he's aging a little bit, but, you know, he's chinny. Very well-rounded, very good, but he is chinny, and he's a good-sized favorite in this fight. And he's fighting Joe Lauzon. Joe Lauzon has not fought in 2.5 years. I actually don't know why he's fighting. I don't know if this is a retirement. I don't know why he's fighting. He runs a successful gym in Massachusetts. This is sort of out of nowhere. But Joe Lauzon, if you're not familiar with who he is, he's a pretty well-rounded guy himself. He does not have very good striking, does not have very good wrestling, but he is well-rounded, if that makes sense, right? He's capable everywhere. Good on the ground, though. Very good on the ground. That is what he's, you know, his specialty. That's what he's good for. And he has insane fight IQ. He's a very intelligent guy in real life and a very intelligent guy in the cage. You know, Joe Lauzon, Grutzmacher took him down, beat him up. Guida took him down, beat him up. I don't know. It's just so tricky because Donald Cerrone has looked so horrific. But I think you got to go with Donald Cerrone here, right? Like, yes, he's looked horrific, but Joe Lauzon's not going to knock him out. He doesn't knock anybody out. These are from takedowns. This isn't on his feet. I doubt he's going to take down Donald Cerrone. And Donald Cerrone's not going to take him down. So I think it's just a kickboxing match that Donald Cerrone gets the best of. So I like Donald Cerrone to win this fight. Again, pricing's probably a little bit wide, but I think Donald Cerrone's a safe play. I know a few of you in the comments section, and even Jacob was texting me, how is he that big of a favorite? He's looked like trash. But the reality is styles make fights, and Joe Lauzon's path to victory is on the ground. I don't know how he's going to get it there. Then we have a rematch. We have Ovince St. Preux taking on Mauricio Shogun Rua. This is at light heavyweight, not heavyweight, even though Ovince St. Preux has been dancing at heavyweight for a little bit. He's back down to light heavyweight here. And this is a rematch. Ovince St. Preux stopped. Let's go find it. Where is it? Boy, this was years ago. Stopped him in 2014, scored 129 points, and he stopped him in that first round. You know, everybody thinks there's more of the same, hence this price point here. And Ovince St. Preux, he's a pretty talented guy. He's athletic. He can hit hard. He can wrestle if he needs to wrestle. He can defend takedowns if he needs to defend them. The problem, he has submissions if he has 3 Von Flue chokes. The problem with Ovince St. Preux is he's so low volume. He's so low volume. And like this fight against Ben Rothwell, he lost it. Man, a couple more punches here and there, a couple more steps forward here and there, and that's his fight to win. He's losing a lot of these fights because of his low volume outside of these stoppages here. And he's taking on Shogun Rua. Shogun Rua is an absolute legend of a man. The guy is a legend. Go back to the Pride days, watch some Pride highlights. Obviously, that is not who he is anymore. He's older, slower, sloppier. But this guy's a legend. He's got good, powerful strikes, solid leg kicks, good BJJ, and he actually uses his wrestling. He took down Nogueira twice, took down Pedro. This is Tyson Pedro, who just fought a few weeks ago that everybody thinks is like the greatest fighter of all time. Well, Shogun took him down, TKO'd him. You know, listen, I think it's more the same. I think Ovince St. Preux wins, but I don't know if he's going to get a stoppage this time. That fight was in 2014, and I know both of them are getting stopped in their recent losses. But, you know, frankly, I just don't see him. I could be dead wrong. I just don't see him having that dominant of a performance over Shogun. He probably wins the fight because I actually think Shogun, you know, will probably have a few healthy exchanges and do well, but you know, he'll probably try to initiate some grappling, not have some success, eat some shots on the way in or out. But Ovince St. Preux's volume has gone down over time. At one time, he was not as patient as he is. He was not as low volume as he is. His volume has gone down. But I got to go with Ovince here, even though I absolutely love Shogun, and I feel like I'm picking against my childhood, which is a little odd. Then we have what might be the best fight in the entire card. We got Tony Ferguson taking on Michael Chandler. Tony Ferguson, this guy's good everywhere. Right? He's good everywhere. He doesn't really wrestle, but he did wrestle in college. I think he wrestled D2, but look at this, no takedowns. Like here's a few, 2015, 14. But he is just known for his ridiculous volume, 136, 104, 114. 104 strikes, 2 rounds, 114 strikes, 2 rounds. And those are significant strikes. Almost every single, actually in these fights, every single fight strike was a significant strike. But the guy just comes forward, throwing heavy, throwing in volume, not stopping. He doesn't stop. You have to hit him with a baseball bat to put this guy down. Justin Gaethje finally was, but it was in the 5th round, and he basically did hit him with a baseball bat over and over and over again. The problem with this loss is I think it took something from him. Because during this stretch, 12 fights? Look at this. 12 fights. This was an insane run. 12-fight win streak with mostly stoppages. He looked unbeatable, and he believed in himself, and he's kind of a head case. And if you take his confidence away, like I think Justin Gaethje did, he just has not looked the same. He's still hard to get out of there, but he has just not looked the same. And he's fighting Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler, big power in his hands, also a nasty wrestler. Didn't use his wrestling up until the last fight. He tried to take down Justin Gaethje a few times. He did get one of them. But he's a heavy-handed wrestler. That's the best way to describe him. He's not looking for submissions. He will box with you. It's pretty clean, pretty powerful. And then he may mix in some takedowns. He knocked out Dan Hooker fast and early. Charles Oliveira, listen, you see round 2 KO, TKO. He's the champ now. But he straight up dropped Charles Oliveira in that first round. Dropped him big. And then eventually Charles Oliveira finished him. But what's interesting, though, is Charles Oliveira finished him. He's got that laser pinpoint accuracy, but his chin looked really good against Justin Gaethje, like really good. So I do think Michael Chandler wins. I'm not spending $9,600 because Tony Ferguson is live, as he always is. You saw that 12-fight win streak, and he's durable. And I just don't think Michael Chandler's going to put him away. And I'm not spending $9,600 on a guy to score 75 points. I'm not doing it. So I'm not going to have Michael Chandler in my lineup. Tony Ferguson may actually score really well. Because if we look at this, Michael Chandler lost this Gaethje fight and he scored 46 points in a loss. This could be the same thing, right? You could get 40, 50 points, 60 maybe even out of Tony Ferguson in a loss. So I'm not going to have Michael Chandler in my lineup. A lot of you will, because you'll just see he's expensive and he should win, a big favorite. But there's a lot of factors there, including how durable Tony Ferguson is. And then we have one of the hardest fights to pick. We've got Rose Namajunas taking on CARLA ESPARZA. This is another rematch. In 2014, CARLA ESPARZA took down Rose Namajunas whenever she wanted to, TKO'd her in the second round, I believe. Had 5 takedowns and then TKO'd her. But Rose Namajunas since then has some really, really nice wins. She lost to CARLA ESPARZA, right? Beat Angela Hill. Paige, fine. Tisha Torres, that's a good win. Lost a kickboxing match to Carolina, but she beat Karate Hottie. She beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice. Lost to Andrade when she was slammed on her head and then beat her, and then beat Wei Li. I actually think this Wei Li, I'm on the other side. I thought Wei Li won that fight. You guys can, every time I say something like that, there's always some simple buffoon that's like, oh, you're an idiot. It was a close-ass fight, and I could think she won it without you being all simple Sam on me. Anyway, Rose Namajunas, very well-rounded, very good kickboxing, okay takedowns, not great takedown defense, but when she's on bottom, she's always threatening for a submission, and she has a really good get-up game. But what's tricky about this fight is she was taken down 5 times by Wei Li. Wei Li took her down 5 times, and now CARLA ESPARZA, who only wrestles 3 takedowns, 5, 1, 4, 4. That one didn't age well. 2, 2, 2, 6, 4, 5. Like, she's taking people down over and over and over. That tells me 2 things. 1, great wrestler. And 2, doesn't have the best top control. Because if she had great top control, these fights that go 3 rounds wouldn't have 5 takedowns. They'd have 3, 1 for each round. But, you know, she does tend to let people get up. And I think the reason Wei Li was able to take Rose down is because Wei Li is a threat to strike as well. So Rose had to worry about that, and then Wei Li mixed in takedowns, which we hadn't really seen from her before. CARLA ESPARZA, Rose only has to worry about the takedown. She knows for a fact CARLA's going to shoot 1,000,000 takedowns. So can CARLA keep that pace for 25 minutes? Can CARLA keep her down? Can she avoid the submissions? The reality is probably, but I'm still going to go with Rose Namajunas here. I'm still going to go with Rose, and it may look like this Claudia fight. She struggled with Claudia. And Claudia is very, very strong, but she struggled with her, and I think she's going to struggle holding Rose down. We've seen Rose. She's got no quit in her whatsoever. Dangerous on her feet, dangerous on the ground. The transitions are not very good, but I do think Rose wins. But CARLA ESPARZA, again, very, very ridiculously live underdog, and just look at the numbers she puts up because of the takedowns. So CARLA ESPARZA is probably solid for your lineup. We're talking $7,300. Can get multiple takedowns, win or lose. And she might honestly be in my lineup, even though I think Rose probably wins. Then we got the main event. We got Justin Gaethje taking on Charles Oliveira. Justin Gaethje is a college wrestler who doesn't wrestle. 0 takedowns in the UFC. 0. I don't understand it. Very good wrestler. Can be taking people down, but he just Chuck Liddell sprawl and brawl style. But he's coming off this win over Michael Chandler. He had a knockdown, a ton of significant strikes, and just a little bit of control time here, and he scored pretty well in that. Khabib smoked him. Ferguson was just that. I've never seen somebody pour a beating on so big, and that's how Justin Gaethje fights. He stays in your face, and he just throws. He stays in your face, and he throws, and he has success against those guys that will let him do it. Where he doesn't have success are guys that will technical him. Technical him? That's not a word. They'll use their technical skills, stick and move, work around, and use those technical skills to not get into a brawl with Justin Gaethje. With that being said, Charles Oliveira, the champion, is probably one of the most technical strikers in the division, the most live for a submission in the entire division. But I think he's getting a little chinny, right? We saw Michael Chandler drop him. He dropped him. And then he does have this submission over Dustin Poirier where he didn't really need a takedown. He sort of climbed on his back. I actually am giving a slight lean towards Justin Gaethje here because Justin Gaethje's stupid durable, very, very durable. He has really good wrestling defense, good wrestling offense. I don't see him using the offense, but I think his defense can keep Charles at bay. All of you in the comments section, oh, Charles doesn't need a takedown to submit you. First of all, it's not like every single win is a submission win. Obviously, there's a giant stretch here. Then he's got some TKOs. But, like, there are people who have managed to not get submitted, right? There are people who have managed to beat him and submit him. Like, I get it. Charles Oliveira is very, very good, and I'm very happy that he's the champion. But, like, Ricardo Lamas submitted him. Pettis submitted him. Holloway TKO'd him. I mean, everybody, it's like Charles Oliveira has become invincible as soon as he's gotten the belt. All of you are screaming and yelling about how he's like the best striker to ever do it, the best submission guy to ever do it. And statistically, he actually might be both of those things. But the reality is Justin Gaethje is a wall. He's a freaking wall. And I can see him just pushing forward, absorbing whatever comes his way, and just battering Charles Oliveira. Very similar to his last couple of fights, except the Khabib one. I just think it's more of that. I think this is stylistically a tough matchup for Charles Oliveira because Justin Gaethje does have a chin. And I don't know how Charles Oliveira, he's not going to get it to the ground. I don't think Justin's going to let him get close enough to climb on his back like Dustin did. So I do think Justin Gaethje can have a lot of success here just marching forward and swinging away. So, guys, that's my breakdown. Justin will be in my lineup. We'll do a final breakdown on Friday after weigh-ins, and we'll account for any weird changes and things like that. We'll add any fights that have been added, like the Van Camp-Fiallo fight. Let me know in the comments what you think. Join our free Discord. It costs literally $0. Go there. Argue with me there. Oh, Angelo, you're an idiot. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Well, do it there. Do it in the Discord so we can chat live back and forth. I'll see you guys later this week.